Good people of a great nation, I welcome you to the discussion segment of Development Focus with Judy Ojo on ITV. This very good day, August 18, 2021. With me here is an August visitor. August visitor in August. August visitor in August. I have with me Emmanuel Ife. He's a veteran journalist, but I want him to say more about himself.
Right, there's not much to say. I'm just a journalist. Simple.
Yeah, but you've walked around the clock and you've been around for a very long time.
Yes. I've worked in a number of newspapers in Abuja.
Okay.
Actually, Brookings, Abuja Inquirer, being a radio talk show personality and television, so on and so forth. So I think I do consultancy, media consultancy, and so on and so forth.
Okay, it's all right. It's a pleasure to have you coming to analyze with us.
Pleasure is mine.
Petroleum Industry Act. I'm not sure there's a bigger news trending since Monday than this piece of legislation which President has signed. As somebody who has worked in different media platforms, let's take it from, before we go into the Petroleum Industry Act and the fallout, what is your understanding of the Nigerian oil and gas sector or petroleum sector that actually warranted this piece of legislation that has been an abiku, if I can use Yoruba word for, that tenaciously every successive administration just wanted a petroleum industry. It's like what we say. People will say, if only we have PIB now, all of this will not have happened. Exactly. So PIB has come finally. But what are those things that led to the agitation for a Petroleum Industry Act?
Well, if you look at the law governing the petroleum industry in the country, dates back 60s.
Yes, 1967, 69.
Exactly. And the dynamics of life keep changing. There's been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of transformation in almost every phase of life. And all along will remain static. And considering the importance, the place and importance of the petroleum industry, which is the, more or less, if I won't be wrong to say, the life wire of the nation's economy or the taproot of the nation's economy. And so the industry is so important, too important to have allowed all these years, allow a law that has become not only obsolete, but no longer in tandem with the realities on ground. And this may have also explained why the industry appear not to have been doing well. This is an industry that is estimated that the byproducts that should have been coming from this industry are way over 6,000. What you're wearing, what I'm wearing, your handsets, your television screen, these are all products of petrochemical, except maybe the chips in your phone. Almost every other thing, what you're wearing, even in the pharmaceutical industry, and so on and so forth.
Packaging,
yes, and
virtually
everything, plastics, all. Yet, a country so endowed with this resource, we have remained backwards in terms of industrialization. Probably, maybe because of the obsolete law we had at that time, because we were just carried away with we have the PMS and maybe the diesel, so we are just satisfied. We're not bothered about any other thing. But there's the whole lot that ordinarily should have turned the economy of this country, and that explains. Even now that people are talking of going to electric cars, the Chinas of this world are still importing huge petroleum products to service their industry. So it was too important to have allowed the laws in the 60s to have continued to remain up to today. So I think it's a welcome development. Let me start by saying that. that we are now beginning to wear our thinking cap and begin to think about how we can now unleash the potentials, the opportunities that are there in the industry.
Over the years, if you follow through the successive administration's effort to have this bill passed into law, one thing or the other always mitigated against the success of it.
Yes.
I recall that under Obasanjo, there was this controversy about OIC, one of the OICs, that's international IOCs, rather, international oil companies, taking some senators to Ghana on retreat. And then when they came back, the whole dynamics changed. The 6th National Assembly failed to pass it. 7th National Assembly failed. 8th National Assembly actually was so frustrated that they balkanized the law into 4 and said, okay, we'll take this one by one, that this law is too big. So they passed one of the, I think, petroleum governance bill.
Yes.
But the president didn't sign it into law. So it was another abiku until this fateful year when the 9th National Assembly promised that they were going to pass, and then they did pass. And there were controversies about some of the sections, despite all the, there was first reading, second reading, the bill was referred to the committee stage, then you have the public hearing, I recall during the public hearing, there was even a fisticuff between
that shows you how important yes.
There was a fisticuff by some of the elders of Niger Delta who were there present. But eventually, this law passed. And, there was agitation that, don't sign it, don't sign it. The PANDEF came out and said, don't sign. The Nigeria Governors Forum said, don't sign. But the president has signed. What do you make of that?
Well, maybe some, either they have forgotten the historical facts, history behind this whole process. As you rightly mentioned, during the Obasanjo day, I think it was late Dr. Lukman, the then Mr. who first started with others, who started
when he was OPEC president?
Minister of Petroleum.
Yeah, before he went to OPEC.
Who started the whole work about this PIB. And they did quite a lot. And unfortunately, when he got to that stage of passing it, one thing or the other, that passed. I think there was even, Yaradua, if I'm not mistaken, also made an attempt. Jonathan made an attempt. And
even Jonathan, that is from the Niger Delta
exactly,
region. And
all failed. So under this administration, this last one now that we have succeeded in getting it through, the initial proposal was 2.5% for the host community.
Host community, yeah.
Then I think the Senate passed 5%.
The House of Reps, actually.
No, was it House of Reps?
House of Reps passed 5%.
Then
but the Senate passed 3%.
Yes. Now, there was need to have a conference and committee, where eventually they arrive at 3%. And I recall that I think either the House of Reps or Senate, one of the invited experts, it
was the Senate,
GMD.
The GMD of military, then the Minister of Petroleum,
exactly,
Minister of Petroleum Resources,
to brief them on
the appropriate
exactly, and at other opportunities, the GMD also tried to explain why the recommendation was for the 2.5, and so eventually they arrive at 3%. And for me, I think than to have nothing, than to have something, is better to have something than not to have anything at all. Considering where we're coming from, how it's been very difficult, it's been very challenging to get to pass this into law.
They said that bed is better than no.
Exactly. And I think it creates something, it gives you an opportunity. There's now a foundation upon which you can build. We can watch this thing, how it operates the next 1 or 2 years. We can decide to go for an amendment.
Even in 6 months, we can
Exactly.
go for it's a presidential, it's an executive bill.
That's it.
Don't forget, it's an executive bill, and the president has his weight behind it. And the president, having listened to experts, having seen what, and incidentally, the president is even the substantive Minister of Petroleum Resources.
You know.
So if in operation in the next 1 year, by next August or thereabout, it is found that things are not moving according to plan, I think it could also sponsor an
amendment. So for me, it's not even so much about what percent. My concern is even how well is this percent
going to be managed.
I think this is where we should be focusing our minds, even Pandev and all who are.
Why are you saying that? Why are you saying we should focus? Because this is the first time the host community are getting some. And I recall that in the submission of Mele Kyari, the GM, the Group Managing Director of NNPC, 3% will be like bringing investment or funding in excess of $550 million to the host communities in Niger Delta, the 9 states in Niger Delta.
That is conservative.
That's conservative. Yes. I said conservatively. Now, you said we should not be focusing on the money. Why shouldn't we be focusing on the money?
When I say, no, I'm not saying don't focus
on the percentage.
The percentage. My concern is, you could have 100%, and it will go down the drain.
As usual.
We had NDDC. We thought that was going to be the magic.
Since 20 years ago.
Look at the revelations that are coming out from NDDC. We have a ministry.
Off the mic. Remember off the mic last time.
Exactly.
when the House of Reps was trying
please, off the mic. You know.
And Godswill Akpabio said, you people are the one that gets all the contracts.
Then suddenly off the mic. And then the following day, the drama of people slumping.
Somebody's
you know, so when you look at those whole things, so I am not so much about the percentage, but how this percentage is utilized to
whether it's 1%
to
or
benefit
2 or 10,
the real man,
the grassroots people,
the real man who is suffering, whose life, of course, as you know, most people in the Niger Delta are fishermen and farming, but because of the activities of oil production, many of them today cannot have fish, cannot farm.
Even they don't have drinkable water.
Exactly. And so my concern would have been to focus on how, okay, now we have this percentage. Let's calculate every year, every month, this is how much is coming in. And let's begin to identify those critical areas.
Projects.
That we will do, that will turn the lives of these people around and better their lives and make them live a decent and a human life. Not this issue of people sit down in the comfort of Abuja and Lagos and the comfort of televisions and begin to pretend grandstand that they are speaking for the people down there, and at the end of some of these people had the opportunity in the past. You whole swear.
So somebody said, Emmanuel, somebody said Niger Delta has a full ministry.
Yes.
Niger Delta Ministry, or Minister of Niger Delta, headed by Senator Godswill Akpabio, yes, former governor of Akwa Ibom. They have NDDC, Niger Delta Development Commission. They have amnesty program since 2009. They have
13% derivation
to the state. They also, all the states in Niger Delta are having their subvention from the federal government, and they are one of the highest taker at the fact.
Not just one, they are the highest.
They are the highest takers, you know, from Akwa Ibom down to Bayelsa, to Rivers, exactly, you know, Edo and Cross River. No. I think Cross River is the least, because they've lost the oil wells. And so we have identified about 5 different sources of funding.
Not to talk of
from
the IOCs,
the international oil companies, the corporate social responsibility. They give scholarships, they provide health facilities, schools to some of the communities.
Yeah.
So people are saying they should be contented, but the PANDEF is raising issue and say, look, with what you have passed now, They cannot guarantee peace in Niger Delta. Should that be our approach to this issue?
No, I don't think that's right. I think, just as I did mention, that our concern should be majorly on how we, with what is coming in now, the proper utilization of what is coming in now. Pandev should have also geared his attention to, as we just mentioned, NDDC. We saw the revelations that came out of NDDC.
The forensic audit
has just been submitted to the minister.
So we have not.
I expect that they should be given a close marking to see what it is in the audit, and to ensure that.
Are you sure some of the Niger Delta leaders will not be indicted in the audit?
Well, it's for us to wait and see.
Okay.
It's for us to wait and see. Then they should have also been concerned about the ministry
of Niger
Delta. What is it doing? Look at, it's so embarrassing that the East-West Road
has not been completed.
Up till now.
Almost 15 years.
Up till now.
Since 2007.
And every year you hear so much is sunk into it. So I think at this time, our concern should be how we, even if it's a kobo, how it's managed. Do you know if you manage a kobo where so you can there's somebody you can give 1,000 naira and you give another person 2 kobo. The 2 kobo person will achieve more than what the 1,000 person would achieve.
That's biblical, isn't it?
That's it.
The parable of the talent.
The talents.
That Jesus gave 1 2, gave 1 gave 1 5. The one with 1 is the one that traded with it.
And he
made more profit. The one with 2 said he's a wicked master. Let me keep his money for you. Anyway, we are going on a short break. We have an advert and we'll be back to continue our discussion on development focus with Jide Ojo on ITV. Please go nowhere. We'll be back in a. So, Ima, let's dig deeper. The international oil companies has been fingered as being partly responsible for the restiveness in Niger Delta. As a seasoned journalist, do you buy into this?
Absolutely.
How so?
You know, the way and manner, globally, check, you will find that these oil companies have always had issues with host communities. It's not just a Nigerian problem, but it's more here, considering that as a people, sometimes even government officials who are charged with the pretending sometimes tend to look the other way around. We were jokingly mentioning how when during the attempt to get this PIB Act passed during one of the administration, how the senators were taken somewhere to Ghana also.
They were taken to Ghana on retreat.
And at the end of the day,
they came back and
it became the story changed.
The story changed. This is no longer a priority issue for us.
So it's not new. They have always played this divide and rule. Just yesterday, the governor of Rivers too was commenting on this issue, and he too expressed these sentiments, the fear, which they are founded, and because he was particularly saying, okay, how do you? His concern was that government should be involved in managing this fund,
particularly the 3% for host community.
For
so that it doesn't also disappear.
So that. Because if you leave the IOCs
to pay
deal
directly
with the communities, how do you?
And now, how would that be separate from CSR, the corporate social responsibility?
You won't be able to know the difference. And so he was experiencing this, expressing this concern, and I think I agree with him. And so when you look at sometimes because he was saying because they can also create problems from his own experience, so that they avoid paying. Because of course, when there's crisis, when there's restiveness, when everywhere is chaotic, some people thrive in that. So they create that so that they won't be able to pay the said fund. So I to a large extent, I buy into that, and I want to agree that they have had, because there's been instances in the past where they've been fingered. I think there's even issue of polluting environment. Just few days ago, we had a judgment of the
last week
about Ogoni, where the
Ejama Ibubo community
exactly, where they were
after
asked
31 years of legal tussle.
Exactly, they were asked to pay 45.9 billion to the community. I hope that money will go to that community and they will also use it well.
We are coming to the issue of accountability and transparency in management of funds. But let's look at those who say nay with this bill. One of them is the Nigerian Governors Forum. And Nigerian Governors Forum
Southern Governors.
Nigerian Governors Forum as a whole. It's in the papers today that they wrote to the president on August 10 in a communication dated August 10. And they raised 6 issues with the PIB, now an act, why they said the president should not sign. And their own concern is, the management of the funds, that everything is being spent by the federal government without recourse to the subnational government, because in the way the bill or the act is structured, it has even given more powers to NNPC, even though it's going commercial now, and also giving the president more role. The subnationals are relegated. The funding that is supposed to come into the federation account will be administered primarily by federal government on behalf without consultation. So they raise 6 issues. But whether the president, of course, as at August 10, I'm not sure the president was in country.
No, he wasn't.
He was not in the country. He came over the weekend, and perhaps maybe they reacted too late. The Governors Forum. So the president has signed. So looking at that, do you think the governors will not orchestrate confusion on this issue to justify their position?
In all honesty, there's nothing impossible in this country. The governors are so powerful at the state level. They control their states, and they are, sometimes I prefer to call them emperors, because they can do and undo at the states level. But I think this then calls for vigilance on the part of people within the civil society, the media, and the rest of us. Because you see, very often we make this mistake. Our attention is so much on the federal. We fail to look at what is happening at the subnational.
And the state and even the local government level.
Exactly. And so the governors have become so powerful. You will see. That's why the governors would not so vehemently opposed to the local governments being autonomous. Even
the state judiciary and assembly,
the legislature, and exactly.
Some governors are not implementing.
So the governors want at all times, and let me tell you, to be honest with you, President Goodluck Jonathan was more or less frustrated by the governors.
That's why being one of them, coming from their rank.
So, and you see, each time, even within their political parties, governors want to dictate the pace. They want to determine what happens. And so, for me...
Is it because they are more than the president? 36 of them against one president?
Well,
or they form themselves into a cabal for...
That's it. Man, that's it. And because... Why
are the 774 local government not?
Because they are in their pockets.
No, because they are more in number, they should have been able.
No, it's not so much that. Because they have succeeded in putting the local governments in their pockets. And that's why they will oppose, they will do everything to ensure that the local governments are not liberated from their clutches. And the day you liberate local governments from the clutches and the hold of the governors, that will be the beginning of the true democracy in this country. Forget this noise sometimes we make. We say our president is too powerful. The president is this and that. The governors are more powerful.
But Emmanuel, sorry to cut you short. I just thought maybe the president was trying not to get shackled or caged by all this pull and push by different interest groups. He wants to be focused. He promised he was going to deliver on Petroleum Industry Act, and he did. Maybe the president was actually looking at the fact that if he does not sign now and he send it back to the parliament,
it will never see the light of the day again. Because let me tell you, what they would now do is, once he returns it back, observing maybe from what the 6 issues the governors raised, the moment the president makes that mistake, if he had made that mistake, return it back to the parliament, you will see the 3 senators from each states. Most of them are, I don't know whether the right is the right language to say, they are lackeys of the governors. Ditto, same for the House of Rep. Practically, the governors would have twist them,
and then they will,
and then maybe this thing would have
will not even recognize the bill again.
Exactly.
And then the president will be angry and say, "No, I'm not."
At the end of the day, maybe up to the end of his tenure, they would have still been debating and arguing.
Because, mark you, the National Assembly has suspended plenary. They are on vacation till September. By the time they come back from September, they will be dealing with budget till December. By January next year, politics
so at the end of the day, you find
that nobody will be. Let's continue to manage.
We will talk about this later.
Talk about this
until before you realize it, by April, May, we are talking about heading towards the election.
Yes. No, the next year is actually for politicking.
The whole of the next year.
Because even as we speak, recall that PDP, APC are having their congresses and conventions
exactly.
between now and December. So if that becomes the preponderance of opinion, and the president fails to seize the initiative to sign this, while he may even wish to sponsor an amendment in due course, that may be the end of the period.
So for me, I commend the president for going ahead. And you know one smart thing he did from his home, what do you call it? Isolation. He signed, and then say Wednesday, the ceremonial aspect of it
will be taking place.
Which was, for me, it was novel.
It's a smart move.
That's it.
I've signed. So I will just be telling you what I signed.
Exactly.
So I think the president is also, people say he's not a politician. He's also a politician in a sense. So let's come back to this issue of host community. There is said to be more in this bill than this whole issue of host community fund, frontier basin agitation. That this will liberalize our oil and gas sector, and many of the investors who have refused to put a dime in that sector because they are not certain with the legal regime will start to invest now.
That was why earlier I mentioned the what do you call it? How, if we properly manage this sector, how it will trigger a lot of petrochemical. Practically, we import almost everything in the pharmaceutical,
including toothpick.
That's it. In the pharmaceutical, we import almost everything. I think, if not just only water, almost everything we import. But do you know the petrochemical has a role to play even in the pharmaceutical industry? And so, by the time the governance structure of the industry is no longer opaque as it's always been, is no longer shrouded in secrecy, is no longer that big monster that was like one big secret society. The tendency is that it will attract more hands. There has always been this agitation. I remember my days on the diplomatic decks, and I remember one time I interacted with diplomats from outside, and they will tell you, look, government should take its hand off that industry and allow the industry to flow. That it will now create more opportunities But the way and manner the industry has been operating is more or less like the people who...
A secret cult.
Yes. If you do not belong, you are an outsider. You hardly know what goes on there. So I think, excuse me, I think with the bill now, though let's not delude ourselves, there's no perfect anything in this world.
Piece of legislation.
Except the Almighty, the Creator Himself. But you strive, you keep making efforts, you keep adjusting. If we operate it, as you rightly pointed out, after 6 months, 1 year, we see lacunas, we see where we need to patch. We do the patching. At least we have something to patch on.
Okay. Let's go to the issue of the governance. Host community is getting 3%. According to Mele Kyari, this 3% amounts to minimum of 550 million USD.
Yes.
Every year. Not once and for every year.
Mm-hmm.
We do not know if there will be a board to manage that fund, because the fear that has been expressed by Governor of Rivers State yesterday was as if it is expected that the IOCs
will just pay the money to the community directly.
And this has been the bane. If that should happen, all the corporate social responsibility funds that have come in, many of the traditional rulers in Niger Delta have been indicted. Many of the community leaders in Niger Delta have been indicted for collecting money from oil companies and lining their own pockets.
You know, it's not even just that alone. You know, even if this money goes directly to these communities, bet you, I can tell you, there's that likelihood of these communities begin to disagree among themselves in the sharing formula, and you will find a situation where they begin to create crises among themselves. The same community, people begin to at each other's neck. No, I am supposed to get more of this share. No, you are not supposed to get this. And so I think we should find a smart way around it, in such a way that there's some level of control and openness and accountability.
Okay. Don't you think the media has a role in all of this? First, to assess the authentic copy that has been signed by the president, and enlightening the public on the key highlights of the... Because what I think most of the analysis we are doing here is like flying blind.
Yes.
We do not know the harmonized version that was signed by the president. We do not know whether in the process of the two chambers having that conference committee, they have altered one or two other things. So we do not have full information as to what and what are contained in this piece of legislation. But we are only revolving around what we have from the media. So what role do you think the media has to play in this?
As always, of course, media as the fourth estate of the realm has, for me, has a bigger role than any other person to play in this issue now. The media, devoid of sentiments, because I've seen a lot of sentiments even within the media now, and unfortunately,
ownership structure.
Well, yes, one, and a number of other factors, you know, which I wouldn't want to begin to mention here now. We have unfortunately allowed ourselves, those of us in the media, to have also become have jumped into the whole fray and become part of the this thing. My simple understanding of definition of news is you are a catalyst, and if you understand what catalyst means in a chemical reaction, you aid reaction without being part of the reaction. But we have missed that point now, and sometimes we throw ourselves into it, and we find it. So I think it's for us, as those of us in the media, to completely detach ourselves from those sentiments, those emotions, and look at these things critically as it is. Get, as you say, get the original version, which is the authentic version,
the
gazetted version, and study it, analyze it, enlighten and educate the Nigerian people, particularly those that this affects directly. And government officials should also, yesterday the Minister of State for Petroleum attempted to do some explanation. But I think that wasn't enough. That's not just enough. We need to do more. There should also be more of community engagement. Engage with the people at the community.
Particularly all these oil communities.
Exactly.
To say this is how this thing will affect you.
That's it.
Or impact on your life.
Exactly. And also, like I know some of these intervention programs, the government run what do you call it? This cash transfer.
Yeah, social investment
program. I'm aware that, at least I know that in my community, I saw it. There are people who are assigned a duty of educating these people how to manage this fund. So we should also do that same with this, with the communities. Okay, if this money come, this is
need assessment. Exactly. What does this community need that it wants to do with its own community development fund?
You channel to it directly so that it benefits the community and it betters their lives, rather than producing multi-billionaires within this community. Because if care is not taken,
the leaders will pocket the money.
You will find that each community is now to be multi-billionaires, and who will now begin to build their own army. Then tomorrow these other communities will begin to build his own army, and then at the end of the day the whole place becomes volatile, and you find that we are worse for it.
Okay, so let's come to the issue of oil theft and pipeline vandalism. Does this piece of legislation, does it have the capacity to help us reduce or eliminate oil theft?
Yes, if properly handled.
How?
Because now, if the communities feel they are part of, they see the benefit they are deriving from it, and they feel they are part of it, they now see it as their property, that they own this property. Because the lesser oil produced in your community, the lesser the amount that comes to you. The more oil that is produced in your community, the more funds you get. What the GMD estimated is the minimum. It could go high. As we keep increasing the production, it means that the communities will be getting more. So it has the potential of helping us checkmate, because the communities now will take ownership of these facilities,
knowing full well what is coming to them.
Exactly. But if we do not handle it well, if they do not see the benefits therein, if at the end of the day only few individuals who are so powerful within the community, or who have become so well connected, are the ones only who are benefiting from this thing, others will feel, I don't care, and so they begin to also, like in the past, we're always hearing that they say everything in Nigeria is the pipeline. So when they were waited, they decided to begin.
They decided to go and break open the pipeline. Since everything is in the pipeline,
you know. So I think it has potential for checkmating that, but it also depends on how well it's managed, and that's why my concern, my emphasis is on how we manage whatever comes in.
Implementation.
Yes.
Implementation has been identified as one of the key challenges with our legislation.
Yeah.
And people are saying, is this not too early for us to jubilate? Knowing full well how the operators and the regulators can actually team up to frustrate even the best of legislation.
Very well.
So how do we resolve that conundrum of the regulators and the operators colluding to shortchange the ordinary citizen?
And that's where, as I said earlier, the civil society, the media needs to come in to beam the searchlights and to put all those regulators, officials, whatever that has anything to do with the industry on their toes 24 hours no break. Beam searchlights on them constantly. The communities can also get their sons and daughters who to understand these things, and to also, as much as possible, form themselves into groups that will give a close marking and a watch to ensure that these things we do not have where some funny things are played under the table, so that everything should be put on the table, open for everyone. Every member of the community should be involved, and even those who do not belong to those communities where the oils are produced, they should also give a close marking in the other aspects of the act, because there are several aspects. Though we are dwelling so much on the issue of this community, host community, and then the other one is the other. But I think there is a whole lot that we need to dwell on, and that's where, as we said earlier, that the media must first immediately begin to study this act and educate every Nigerian. Every Nigerian should show interest.
Do
talk shows,
feature stories,
and so on and so forth,
and even this kind of program to enlighten the public.
Exactly.
Now let's look at one germane issue that has been a fallout of this. Before this bill was signed, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources was quoted as saying that the moment the president signs the PIB, we will stop fuel subsidy. That fuel subsidy will be brought to an end. But he sang a different tune yesterday and said, look, it's not going to be immediate. They are dialoguing with Labour. In the next 6 months, NNPC will be unbundled and all of that. So what's your take on this issue of fuel subsidy and issue of deregulation of the entire oil and gas sector?
I've had cause to interact with a number of people on this issue, and I keep making reference to when we had this GSM came out newly. I think I bought my SIM whether 30,000 or 40.
Yeah, that's what most of us bought.
Yes.
2002, 2003.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this same SIM today is practically free.
Yeah, 1 naira,
2 naira, 200 naira, 100 naira, you get this. Why did it happen so? When at the inception of this GSM, there were just, I think, 1 or 2 companies.
Yes.
I don't want to do commercial, so I don't want to mention them. Who were some even told us that per second billing was impossible.
It's impossible
because it was monopoly.
Yeah, it was near monopoly actually.
So because of monopoly, they did all they could. We had no choice. Suddenly one came with that famous Charlie Boy advert of eating banana half and returning and collecting your change. And that was the beginning of the turnaround.
Per second billing.
That's it. That was the turnaround. I foresee that happening at the initial stage. At the initial stage, when the full deregulation takes place, no subsidy, you are going to have situations like this, where you go back to the early days of the GSM. We'll buy petroleum product high. Maybe
300 naira, as speculated by one of the newspapers.
Exactly. So we'll buy at that rate. But now you will see there will be markets. Investors will see that, there's an opportunity to invest. Yeah. There are a lot of people who got licensed to build refineries.
Yeah, but they never built. Only Dangote was brave enough to go. And
Abdul Samad is also building.
Oh, good.
One, I think in Akwa Ibom also. I think it's signed with the French.
Total Financial.
I think I know it's French. A company in French. I can't remember whether it's Total. To build, I think, one in Akwa Ibom. Now, by the time you have multiple of them, and just as the GMD of NNPC said the other day, that from next year, there's likelihood that Nigeria will even be exporting finished products.
Yeah, because Dangote
alone is far more than.
Dangote is 650 per day,
Yes.
barrel of refined petroleum product by day. That's more than what Nigeria consumes.
And then
Nigeria consumes about 445,000
exactly.
or thereabouts.
And then by the time these refineries that are being worked on, I think sometime next year or thereabouts.
No, there are even 3 modular refineries that the administration claimed to have started.
I think one in Imo was
one in
commissioned.
Edo, one in Imo.
Yeah, exactly. So by the time you have multiple of this, you now create competition. There's no longer that monopoly of it's just one source. So if, I mean, we've seen sign of those things when they started what they call price modulation. If you remember, you go to some filling station, you buy maybe 1 naira different, 2 naira different, 3 naira different. So the tendency is that by the time we begin to refine in country, because largely what is causing the price, the hike in the price, is this import. Because one, you export your crude,
and then you import.
Taxes are paid when you are importing. Taxes are paid the other end when they are finished refined. Taxes are paid. You transport it. Taxes are paid. All this.
I've done an opinion piece where I was even saying, what is wrong? Maybe we are waiting for this PIB anyway. That what is wrong? If we are meeting our OPEC quota through the JV joint venture agreement with international oil companies, we never fail to meet it. If they say 2.4 million barrels per day, we are meeting it. If they say 3 million, we are meeting it because of the efficiency and effectiveness of the joint venture partners who are involved, the IOCs.
Yeah.
Can't we also encourage the IOCs to be part of the refining of this crude? Maybe 20%, 30% of whatever crude they produce, let them also build refineries and refine it while they export the rest to those who may want to buy.
You know the truth is that all along, because there was this dishonesty within the industry, and that has given room, and because of the dishonest nature, there's a lot of fraud going on within this issue of importing finished products and so on and so forth. But I think if this law that has been signed now, if we implement it properly, I think all that will change. Because now, as we were talking about Dangote now, if next year, I think Dangote is supposed to be hopefully first quarter or second quarter of next year.
First quarter of next year, 2020.
By the time he begins, nobody will be told to begin to do that.
You don't have to go and import again. It's from Lagos here.
That's it.
And so you don't even have to pay a Papa port or even any port charges.
No tax, no those. And from what we understand, he's going to be buying the crude in naira, not in dollars.
No.
So if he buys it
and Nigeria is already, NNPC has already gone to take equity 20% equity.
Exactly.
So that they can also be on the table
to regulate what happened.
So now, before we open the phone lines, and the phone lines will be open now, 0809 987 1989 0809 987 1989. You can join us on this discussion. We are discussing, as you see on your screen, Petroleum Industry Act, the likely fallout. So, Emmanuel, let's look at the role of organizations like Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, NEITI, in all of this. NEITI has consistently released reports about the opacity in this oil and gas sector, what Nigeria is losing, and they've done so many studies. What do we see as their role as well, I think they are non-governmental body in a sense, but what do you think the role NEITI should be playing in this?
When I was mentioning that we need...
we have our first caller, sorry. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hey, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Tell us your name and where you are calling from.
Good morning.
Yes, your name and where you are calling from, please. Can you move away from your TV set?
My name is Abba.
Yes, Abba, where are you calling from? Oh, sorry, Abba, you can call back, but please, when you call, move away from your TV set so that we can hear you clearly. We have another caller. Hello? Oh. Anyway, please keep your call coming. The number to call is 0809 987 1989. The number is on your screen. When you call, please either off your TV or move away from your TV set. Otherwise, we won't be able to hear you. So, people are calling. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, your name and where you are calling from? Can you speak loud, please?
My name is Godwin.
Godwin, where are you calling from?
Abuja.
Where in Abuja, please? Hello, Godwin. Are you there? Where are you calling from? Okay. Please, the protocol is very simple. When you call, reduce to the barest minimum your TV set. You don't have to listen to yourself through the TV. Move away from it and please speak loud. Give us your name and where you are calling from and your question. Hello?
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, control fee that we are talking about all the time in this country. Is it only the control, when the control resources finish in this country, are we not going to, are we going to survive?
Can you tell us your name and where you are calling from, please?
My name is Julius, I'm calling from Kagini.
From?
My name is Julius and I'm calling from Kagini.
Kashim? Kagini, okay. Julius from Kagini. So, you said we are devoting too much time discussing petrol.
Yes.
We will have to discuss it until when it finishes. It has not finished. Even if petrol finished, there will still be gas. And it's still the same oil and gas sector. But it affects you and I because that's where we get our funding, the bulk of the money that we use to fund our budget. So it's of prime importance to us.
Okay.
Thank you very much for calling. All right, stay safe. So I think Julius was very clear. That's what we want you to do. When you call, please move away from your TV set. Tell us your name. Hello?
Please, I think about this gas because my washing machine, how are we going to use fuel now?
Please, when you call, tell us your name and where you are calling from. It's very important we know your identity. And move away from your TV set. Do not put on your TV while you are calling. Hello?
Hello, good morning, sir.
Morning.
Yeah, my name is Promise Okwara. Yeah, I'm calling from Pape.
Okay, Promise Okwara from Pape. You are our neighbor. So
yeah.
What's your question?
I'm calling from Pape, Abuja.
Yes, I got that. What's your question or comment?
Actually, I'm like what the people I'm discussing this morning.
Thank you.
I like to play very well, sir. But if our government go put more pressure for what they're doing, I like it. Like Imo now has refinery, they have the refinery for Benin. But if all that states have refinery, I hope the state will do well.
Okay.
State will do well, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Government is listening. Imo As it's not the number of refineries, it's the management of those refineries. Excuse me, sorry. Hello? Oh, we lost that call. So, Ima, we were looking at the regulation. You said you are painting scenario of what happened in the telecommunications sector, and what I get you saying is that between the promise and the promised land, there is always a wilderness.
Exactly.
So Nigeria should be ready to buy
very well.
We should brace up for removal of fuel subsidy.
That's the reality, because if we don't do that, people keep hiding under this issue of subsidy, and all manner of untold things happen, and at the end of the day, there's no resources free to develop the infrastructures we need.
Hello, let's take this call, sorry, because we need them to win. Good morning, your name and where you are calling from, please.
My name is Saudi from Asokoro.
Saudi, is this Saudi Arabia or Saudi Nigeria?
Not that one.
Okay, which one is it? Saudi Katsina?
Saudi Nigeria.
Saudi Nigeria, I like that. So Saudi, what's your question or comment?
Yes, if it is Ministry of Niger Delta, let it be solely Niger Delta affairs activities, like the Ministry of Northeast. A Niger Delta man cannot be given contract in that part of the country. But this one that we call Ministry of Niger Delta, you will see the people that are getting contract in that very part of it. They are not from that ministry. They are not from Niger Delta. So, if I see it as injustice, because when you compare the Niger Delta Ministry and the Northeast Development Commission, when you go to the Northeast Development Commission, you will not see anybody from there apart from the people from Northeast. But we call it Ministry of Niger Delta. Let it be Niger Delta affairs things, so that if there is a problem there, we face the people from there. You know, you give contract to the people that are not from Niger Delta people, and you know how corruption is very high in this country. You know, you give it with the left hand, you collect it with the right hand. So I want us to balance the equation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Saudi. Saudi Nigeria says because it's Ministry of Niger Delta, only Niger Delta should get contract.
But really, I don't see the issue there because it does not matter who gets.
We are all Nigerians.
And I don't know whether he has done a
feasibility study
to now arrive at a conclusion that there are non-Niger Deltas mostly doing contract in the Ministry of Niger Delta. To the best of my
knowledge, it's Niger Deltas that are managing NDDC.
So, and it has nothing. I don't think that is even the issue. The most important issue for me is to deliver.
Capacity to deliver.
That's
yes.
it.
Let's take this call very quickly. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, your name and where you are calling from?
My name is Ojugo. I'm calling from
Ojuku?
Ojugo.
Ojugo from Utako. Okay, I got you there. Okay, so what's your question or comment?
Yes, my comment is that the governors and the local communities that are talking about the 3 days lately, I don't know whether they were not aware when the bill go into public presentation.
Public hearing, you mean?
Public hearing, sorry. Were these issues not there at that time? If the answer is yes, why were they not raised at that time, but they are being raised now? This is my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ojugo. Thank you very much for calling. We appreciate you. Please keep your call coming. So he's raising an issue that is messing after death. No, those who are raising reservation about this.
I totally agree with you. You see, this is the problem here. Now, there were public hearing. It was very obvious that we were between 3 and 5%, because the two houses, one past 3, one past 5. So it was obvious that it must be one of them, or at best they find a convergence in the middle, maybe the one move up, one move down. You meet at 4, at most. Probably that's what would have happened. Now, if you knew that governors that are raising issues now, the senators are from your state, the rep members are from your state. If you are working in tandem, if you had issues, all we do, you call them back home and talk with them. That look, this is the way you were proposing.
This is what we want you to do.
Yeah, now you don't lobby each other. You know, in democracy, it's about lobbying. You don't. Then you allow, after the whole thing finished, then you are now, some are beginning to threaten that they cannot guarantee peace, as if they own the peace. I mean, I don't know. So the truth is this thing, as we said earlier, some of them are just grandstanding. They want to feel important, they want to feel relevant.
And they are already looking at how this will profit them. How they will gain maximum.
It's more about them. It's more about them, not more about the people. That's the fact of the matter. And so that's why I feel very sad. That's why I say those of us in the media, in the civil society, in fact, 90, as beside issuing reports, they should engage the communities, educate them.
And all those civil society organizations working in Niger Delta.
That's it.
That
Nature should take it as a duty, not just annual report. Engage the communities. Let them understand what
sensitization.
Exactly.
National Orientation Agency also
very
has a role to
show
play.
them how, if you get this money, not begin to marry wives, begin to go partying, but this is what you will do that will better your life and turn your life around for the better.
Okay, so as we custom to end this discussion, let's look at this issue of degradation of oil communities. Organic cleanup has been on for over 5 years now. Little or no progress has been recorded, despite the commitment of $1 billion through the UNEP report that came out some years ago. What does PIB portends for corporate governance, environmental impact assessment of the entire Niger Delta region? Should we say, because we now have PIB and then you are going to be paying 3% to host communities, the impunity of just doing as you like should continue in Niger Delta?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think even in the PIB, I think that, or either the PIB or there's a law on gas flaring now.
Yeah. No, it's the PIB
Good.
that says part of, if you continue gas flaring, the penalty that you pay will be used to develop part of the money that will come to the host community. Let's take this call. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name and where you are calling from?
I'm calling from Kabusa.
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 Yes, your name.
My name is Okechukwu.
Okechukwu. So, what's your question or comment?
My topic is that this Nigeria issue that we always hear every day. They leave this matter of Nigeria, focus what is happening. Focus what is happening in Nigeria. I'm talking about all those things. People are hungry. Let them do everything to become clean. Do everything to become neat.
This what we have been discussing will put food on your table, Okechukwu. Because when government has more money, they will be able to give more people employment. Even when with the operation of this Petroleum Industry Act, when the investors come, you never can tell. Maybe you will be one of the people who will be employed to come and work in the oil and gas sector. You understand? So let's look at the longer picture.
Every time you're giving out FedEx to them, as everybody is crying hungry. Food stuff you even though
even me, I'm hungry, Okechukwu. The truth is that I am also hungry. I don't know about Emmanuel.
Very, very hungry.
So, but you see, even as we say in our local parlance here, even when you are crying, you must be able to see road.
Yes.
Even as we are hungry, this is part of what can give us food. This is what can give us food. Those who studied petrochemical engineering, petroleum engineering, with invest. Okay, don't worry. You will soon enjoy another good luck now. Let's see how this bill will impact our lives in the next 6 months to 1 year. Thanks for calling in, Okechukwu. No verse, my brother, no verse. Okechukwu, Dalu, no verse, eh? Let's
go drink water so your temper will calm down.
Let's calm down. Let's calm down. Like we said, we are coasting home to a rounding of this discussion. The issue of oil pollution, environmental degradation, what should the regulatory agencies be doing? There is NASTRA, there is Nostria, there's so many of them. What should they be doing despite with this Petroleum Industry Act? Let me, before you respond. Hello? Hello, good morning. Yes, your name and where you are calling from. Please move away from your TV set. I've told you, please, when you call, reduce your TV set. You don't have to be listening to yourself while talking on the phone. So, very quickly, the role of all the regulatory agencies in all of this.
You know, they have been very weak. That has been their bend. And I think we need to strengthen them. When I mean strengthen them, it's not just about funding them. It's not just about providing them with resources. But apart from funding, the personnel, the manpower in those agencies should be top notch. If we don't have people, for instance, if you are going to, you are confronting an organization that they already have more knowledge in that area than you, they can bamboozle you and you take a walk. And then if they are not properly remunerated, funded, the tendency is that, of course, the Ghana style for the senators retreat can take place. And once a retreat takes place, that's the end of it. And you find when a regulator.
Hello, sorry, 1 minute. Hello? Hello? Okay. Yeah.
Once a regulator is funded by an organization that is supposed to be regulating, for either workshop, for a retreat or anything, invariably you have been compromised.
You are compromised, okay. So let's hello? 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 Your name and where you are calling from? Hello? Oh, please call us back. So you are saying,
and these are the kind of things you see, where you see agencies of government that are supposed to be regulating. You find them going cap in hand, asking them to fund them for one retreat, for one official
capacity
building. And once you do that, you have compromised. You already been pocketed by the person. So at the end of the day, you find that the person, you can hardly look the person in the face and say, look, Mr. Man or Mrs. This, you have done wrong, and this is your penalty. So until we do that, we'll continue. The vicious cycle will continue.
The vicious cycle will continue. So what role do we have for? Let's take this last call, very last call, please. Hello. Hello. Hello, your name and where you are calling from? Hello? Oh. Okay. Tell your mama or your papa to call, not you. Okay. So, is National Assembly done? They've done their own part. They've passed the legislation. The president has attended. Is that the end of the...
It's not.
So what should the National Assembly be doing?
The National Assembly have two things: ensuring that this law is enforced through what oversight over agencies that have the responsibility within this law to implement this law. Secondly, ensuring that the agencies are properly funded through budget. And at the executive arm, the president and the rest, to ensure that there's close supervision of the agencies to do their work. Where agencies are weak in terms of legislation, either executive propose amendment to strengthen them, or even the National Assembly members, as members be, can propose.
Hello. Sorry. Hello. 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 Well, that will be it. Please stop calling. Let me allow my guest to not to lose his train of thought because of the interruptions. So you have highlighted a number of rules for the National Assembly that it's not yet to rule.
No.
They cannot go and sleep. There are, you have talked about 4 different things that National Assembly can still do. The issue of proper funding of the agencies and departments. They are responsible for the regulatory agencies, NOSTRA, and environmental protection boards and all of that. You have talked about oversighting themselves, and to be sure that there is full compliance with this regulation. You have also talked about welcoming possibly amendment to the
enabling laws. Establishing laws, establishing those agencies to bring them to the reality, to strengthen them, to give them teeth. It's not just enough to have a dog without the teeth. If you have a dog without teeth, it's as good as nothing. So, but when you have a dog that is barking and it has teeth to indeed bite, then it makes everyone sit up.
So now, you have talked about NATIS. NATIS' role is to sensitize the people, not just to be doing, annual report and all of this. And you have talked about the role of media. You've talked about the role of civil society.
Sorry to interrupt. I remember when NATIS started. I think it was during the
2004.
OBS Ekwesili. Yes. I remember there was a sensitization program they did in Port Harcourt. Then I met Rotimi was speaker. That was the first time I met him. I was sponsored to participate in that program, all the way to Port Harcourt, and I thought they would continue in that way. And quite a number of us our eyes were open to certain things that we hitherto we never knew of. So I think they should continue, revive that, where they continue to engage, to educate and sensitize critical stakeholders, and indeed the communities, engage media, enlighten people in the media, civil society, on how to provide that necessary search light on these things, and then the host communities. So by the time they keep doing these things, when everybody is well informed about what is happening within that, is well informed about it, you practically reduce the incidence of some few people monopolizing and doing some shady things. Because the moment you take a step, somebody sees ahead of you and say, no, this step you are taking is not it. This is how it should be. So
does the whole community, the people in the communities, oil producing area, do they have any role to play in all of this? They are leaders, community leaders, traditional leaders in Southside, the youth leaders, the women leaders. Do they have any role to play in this PIA now?
I think they have, because if this money is paid to the communities, I mean, the money won't just drop in the community and begin to go around and do the work. So the communities would have a mechanism where when this fund comes in, they should have a forum where they can sit down, or maybe ahead before it comes in, and identify, okay, this is our pressing need. We have this pressing need, this A, B, C, D. So as soon as the fund comes in, maybe a committee, maybe a steering committee, or whatever they have.
I think there are the community development associations, CDA,
Exactly.
or town unions. They can help with
Precisely, that's
articulating
it.
what the needs of this particular community needs. If it's pipe borne water they need, or hospitals, or schools,
Very well.
or any other infrastructure. Anyway,
But let me also quickly warn too. That will also not take away the responsibility of the governors.
yes, in providing.
They shouldn't think that
infrastructures.
because now this money is going to the communities, so all the other allocation they get, their IGR, their
The 13%
13% and all that.
That they should not
think that.
I think it's just to take off the small responsibility
Exactly.
of the government.
And then
but the big ones will still be with them. The small ones, like building of primary health center, like building of primary school,
The governor
can be taken on by
the states and the local governments. You still know that they have
NDDC also still
know
have
that they have
role to play.
a role to play. And the other thing I forgot I was going to mention that time was, rather than the governors busy making noise and saying don't do this, I keep wondering why the governors would not. Each state you can set up and bid and get license and build refinery in your state, or they can group themselves.
Even South governors can
come in,
mobilize resources
and
to
build
refinery,
have refineries.
and then they will be selling to us. After all, they can have farms. They do
That's
have.
it.
Anyway, it's an unfolding scenario. Definitely, this is not going to be the last we'll discuss on Petroleum Industry Act on this show, because as soon as we are able to access a clean copy, the signed copy from the president, we will still bring experts around to come and educate us on those provisions. I want to thank you, Emmanuel Ife, for coming on the show this morning, and thanks for sharing your wealth of experience with us. And we do hope when next we call you, you will oblige.
Anytime.
Thanks. And I want to thank you, our viewers, particularly those of you who have taken time off to call in, to weigh in, to discuss, to comment, to question the topic of our discussion today. You make this program to be alive, and we look forward to better engagement next time around. I'm sorry for those I couldn't pick their call. It's not an affront, it's just that we have very limited time for interactive. Please join us next Wednesday when another edition, a fresh edition of Development Focus with Judy Ojo on ITV will be here. Till then, please stay safe. Cholera and COVID-19 still kills.